Well, greetings everyone. Good to have you back. I'm coming at you from the camper van here at my camp. I'm camped in the beautiful state of Nevada. It is December 31st, 2022. New Year's Eve day. We're closing out the year 2022. Hope you're all doing well today, and I just wanted to do a little recap here, talk about some of the costs and expenses of this lifestyle, for me anyway, and yeah, just how it's gone for me. A lot of you already know this, but I started living in a van in January of 2014 in my hometown of San Diego, California. I stayed static living in my van in my hometown of San Diego, California, working a part-time job, actually a couple part-time jobs for a while. Just kind of saving up money and getting grounded and kind of reevaluating life. I had no real intentions of traveling around and pursuing seasonal work. That came after about a year of being in the city in my van. I realized that wasn't for me, and I kind of started to reflect on more and more how just city life in general wasn't for me, even though I grew up in it. San Diego is still, I think they call it the nation's smallest big city. It's still pretty mellow as far as bigger cities goes. You know, we've got the beaches and the mountains and the deserts all in San Diego County, so it's pretty diverse. But I knew just that kind of city life living wasn't for me. So that's when I started looking into the seasonal work. I already had the van. I was comfortable living in it. I had been doing it for a good year. So I started researching these seasonal jobs, and I found the sugar beet harvest and the Amazon camper force, and I pursued those and got hired and went and did the jobs and was really exposed to a whole new way of living. And especially at those first two jobs, I met a lot of other people that had been living that lifestyle, working seasonal work, living at other RVs, and just overall having a lower cost of living. And for me, that was the intention from the get-go. When I first got my first van and started living in it, I had zero intentions of travel, zero intentions of pursuing seasonal work. It was just to work less, spend less money, and not just be caught up in that feeling like I need to always be making money to get ahead, to cover all the expensive rents, and prospectively looking at buying a house and all that. It was just overwhelming, and just overall it felt like it wasn't for me. So when I got exposed to this kind of other way of living, it really clicked with me. And now I can tell you firsthand, I've met a lot of people that have tried it, and within a few months they've just decided it was not for them, and I respect that. I feel like over the years I've done my best to not try to sell this lifestyle. My intention with this channel from the very beginning was just to show my experience. I try to really show it in a way where I'm very neutral. I'm not trying to sell it or hype it up or knock it down. I just show you my experience. I know there's some channels out there that do that, and I respect that as well. I know there's a lot of people that this has really improved their life, and they want to help other people improve their lives. But I don't think this is the answer for everyone. It is for a certain demographic, but it was definitely for me. So just wanted to get that out there and say that, and quickly get into kind of some of the costs. One of the most common questions I've got from the beginning when I first posted my first YouTube videos, first one was December 31st, 2014. I showed my van a little bit and introduced the channel and talked about how I was going to start showing what it was like and how much money I was spending, and so I'll touch on that. For the year of 2022, I spent $3,014, $3,014.57 on gas for the whole year. That was 8,000 miles and 8,186 miles for the whole year. I think one of the most common misconceptions with this lifestyle, at least the way I'm living it, is that you're going to be driving a ton more miles than you're used to. The national average for their work commuter, their daily work commute, the national average is about 40 miles round trip per day. Of course, a lot of people have to drive way more than that to get to work and back, and some people drive way less, some people don't drive at all, so that's why it's an average. And my total miles for the year since I've been on the road always falls below that national average of the daily work commuter. So I've found that I'm actually driving less. I'm spending less money on gas, less money on vehicle maintenance. It's just how it's been for me. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but that's how it is for me. And a lot of you that know my channel, I pursue free camping. I pay for camping and lodging very little. I've stayed in like 1 or 2 hotels since I'd been at this since 2014, and one of those times was with Kelly. Someone gave us a free room, and the other times were when I was going to the Alaska job. The company puts me up in a hotel when there's delays, especially with the COVID thing. So my total camp fees for the year of 2022, all my camping fees, everything I paid for to be able to stay somewhere in a campground, $61.50. A lot of you may not believe that, but it's true. I spent $61.50 for a whole year camping. That means that pretty much the majority of my camping is all on public land, national forest, free. Of course, I go to Alaska for 2 months. I've been doing this for about the last 4 years. I take 2 months off and go to Alaska. I don't drive, I fly. The company pays for it. So for those 2 months, my van is sitting. I usually have to pay for storage, which is about $150 a month, so $300 for those 2 months. 8,000 miles that I drive and $3,000 in gas. If you were to break that gas cost down to monthly, that would be about $250 on average in gas a month. Obviously, there's times where I make bigger moves and I spend more than that, but usually at the end of those bigger moves, I'm camping for like 2 weeks at a time, moving a very short distance, and then camping for another 2 weeks at a time. So that's what keeps that gas cost low. I think my biggest expense on the road is food, and I can touch on that. So one of the most common questions I get is, how much is this lifestyle going to cost me, from people that are interested in living the van life or a lifestyle similar to mine. And there's a real easy, quick, short answer. That's your current cost of living minus rent or mortgage. If you own a house and you're paying mortgage, you plan on selling it and living this lifestyle, you just cut that out completely. If you're renting, you cut that out completely. Your food and gas and everything else should be the same. I don't see why that should change. There's also been some other surveys and studies done as far as food cost. And here in the U.S., of course, this is rising currently because of inflation, but a thrifty monthly, and these are according to these studies, a thrifty monthly food budget is about $197. A low-cost food budget is about $256. A moderate food budget, $320. A liberal food budget, $392. My average food costs are about $300 a month. I'd say that's a pretty good average for me, which puts me right around the low cost, in between low cost and moderate as far as the studies go. So again, if you're interested in this lifestyle and you're wondering how much it's going to cost you, I don't see why that cost would change. And again, with what I've said about the mileage and gas, unless you're not driving or never commuted to a job, I don't see why you would be expecting any increase in your gas costs and mileage. For the year of 2022, I was real lucky. I didn't have to do any real major maintenance on the van other than oil changes. And I do factor those into my costs. I do my own oil changes. So it's really hard to come up with a number, a total monthly number for people, because we're all different in our habits. Our spending habits are different, our eating habits are different. If you're a cigarette smoker or drink alcohol, those are very expensive things to do. So you really need to just look at what you're currently spending, and you can figure out what van life is going to cost for you before even attempting it. It's pretty easy to do. Now, I'm doing this a certain way. Again, I pursue the free camping, and a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people want to travel in a bigger RV and kind of live a similar lifestyle, but they're paying for RV parks all the time and places with hookups and sewer dumps and all that. So of course your cost is going to be way higher, but I'm referring to my kind of lifestyle, which I think a lot of people are pursuing. I kind of come from the school of Bob Wells' cheaprvliving.com. That's where I learned a lot of the stuff in the beginning. Bob Wells did not have a YouTube channel back then. He only had his website, and I scoured that and learned a lot from that, and kind of came to the same conclusions that, overall, my cost of living is going to go way down. A lot of people looking into this lifestyle are waiting till they're retired. They have a pension, Social Security, that type of thing to live off. The other big common question I get is how I make money on the road, and I've shared all that. The sugar beet harvest up in North Dakota. I worked for Amazon. I worked for an amusement park in Iowa. I've done a lot of different seasonal work to where I can stop, park. They usually give me a free place to camp included with the job. Like with Alaska, it's room and board. They pay for food and everything. So I'm spending less on maintaining jobs. What I found in the past when I was renting an apartment, working for other companies or running my own business, it was actually very expensive to have a job. A lot of people think that's a joke, but it's true. It's expensive to have a job and a career. Working this seasonal type work, it doesn't cost as much. You can work for way less money. I'm not talking about getting paid less, but the money you have to invest to maintain that job. To maintain a career type job, you need to be in one spot, usually close to it, and be able to afford the rent that's, the going rate in the area of that job. And so in that sense, a job is expensive to have. So this lifestyle is all about keeping the cost of living as low as possible. It's been that from the beginning and continues to be. A lot of people on the surface see this as I'm in this for the travel and that's never been the case. The travel is just a byproduct of me having to move around to find free places to camp. So the travel is a perk part of it. Seeing all these different places are just perks. So yeah, I think I've covered most of the cost stuff. A lot of people won't like that. Another thing I do is I get the National Parks Pass. So if I'm near a national park, I can go in. That's $80 a year for someone like me. If you're a senior, you can pay a one-time fee and have that that pass for the rest of your life. Not only does it get you into national parks, but a lot of campgrounds. I showed recently, Kelly and I camped at an off-road area in Mendocino National Forest. It would have been $5 a day, $5 a night, but because I had that national park pass, it made it $250 a night. So it can save me money with that $80 a year. So that's something every year I've always bought. And of course, there's investments. I recently bought a motorcycle. But, that was after 8 years of living this lifestyle, of a low-cost lifestyle. So I've been saving up for that motorcycle for like 8 years. A lot of you remember I had the little Honda trail bike. That was kind of dipping my feet into whether or not I wanted to have a motorcycle with me on the road. It was a cheap way to get into it. I knew it wasn't the long-term bike for me, so I got rid of it, continued to save up more money. I got the motorcycle I wanted, the Yamaha XT250, and then, I went to Alaska again for another summer for 2 months to make more money, and I came back and bought the little trailer to tow the motorcycle around. So those I don't really include in my monthly, I don't break that down into my monthly expenses. Those are just purchases that I've saved up for years to get. And these seasonal jobs allow me to do that. I can make a lot of money in a short amount of time and then live for very, very cheap. And so to put into perspective, on the average, I can live on about $800 a month living this way. The $250 a month in gas and the $300 a month in food. That's $550. And then I usually leave a little bit of wiggle room, another few $100s, which brings me up to about $850 a month for my average normal monthly living expenses. So when I went to Alaska for 2 months, I make about $10,000. That's after taxes. So if you break that down, I've already spent 2 months there, basically expense-free. They feed me. I have a place to stay for those 2 months. For the rest of the 10 months out of the year, subtracting those 2 months working, I've made $10,000. That would factor out to $1,000 a month, but that's usually not how much I spend, so I'm actually able to save money. So working for 2 months out of the year, I can live the rest of the year comfortably and save money. That's amazing to me. That's why I keep living this way. I used to work, 40 to 60 hours a week when I had my own business, and I was just making it. In San Diego, rent is expensive. The idea of, eventually buying a house seemed for a single guy running a small landscape maintenance business, it seemed impossible and overwhelming and kind of depressing. So learning about this lifestyle, it wasn't the answer to all my problems. It was the answer to a major one, that was financial stuff. So life goes on. I still have all the other problems that I've been burdened with since, I've been very young. I struggle with depression. I'm a recovering drug addict. There's a lot of stuff in life that I have to work on the reg. that doesn't go away because I'm living this fantasy cheap lifestyle. Life goes on. I will say that living this lower stress lifestyle allows me to focus on some of that personal growth stuff. So I'm going to end this with kind of some goals. That's another question I get a lot, like, what are your goals living with this lifestyle? Isn't it kind of what keeps you motivated to live in, this kind of just floating around? Do you have any direction in life? And I do. A lot of my goals are personal stuff. It's stuff about myself that I'm working on, things I don't like about myself that I want to improve. And I find that this lifestyle allows me to focus on that more. And I will say that running this YouTube channel really provides a lot of its own challenges that push me to address those. YouTube can be a real nasty place. I mean, people will just be as mean as they can to you to just make you feel bad about yourself. And that's something I have to deal with on a daily basis. It's like if you had a job you showed up at every day, and every day you showed up at your desk there was a note telling you what a piece of crap you were, from your boss. Like, that's the kind of stuff I have to deal with. I also get to deal with a bunch of other people, give me a lot of positivity and a lot of positive support as well. So that's, the main thing that keeps me going with all this. Pardon if there's some background noise here. It's very windy. The van is shaking. So anyway, some of the goals for 2023, Kelly and I want to do another big adventure trip, possibly a motorcycle camping trip again, like we did. And yeah, again, a lot of personal stuff, some financial stuff. I have some goals with this YouTube channel, things I want to accomplish. So overall, I find this lifestyle to be very rewarding. I don't feel like there's a lack of direction at all. I'm still here living life, trying to be the best person I can be, the kindest person I can be to those around me. I try to step up and have, these meetups that I've been trying to do to bring people together. I've collaborated with Bob Wells with the caravans to bring people together. I really try to give back to the community that I feel that I'm a part of. So I find this to be very rewarding. I know I've talked to people that this lifestyle didn't work out for them. They experienced the exact opposite. They felt very disconnected that they had no community. And they got very depressed and just had a very lack of direction in their life. And I share that with you because I've met people like that, and they've gone back to renting or gone back to house living and getting a normal job. And I respect that. I respect people that have given a different type of lifestyle a try and decided it's not worked out for them. I'm here since 2014 and it's still working out for me. Do I know how long I'm going to be doing this? No, I take it day by day. And I have I'm just not floating along. I plan for my future. I save, and I have saving accounts and retirement accounts in that. So I'm not just kind of floating along and being irresponsible. I find that, again, the lower cost of living lifestyle for me and not working as much allows me to focus on that and keep things kind of straight. So yeah, I'm going to end it with that, guys. I feel like I covered a lot of stuff. I'm not the best talking numbers in that. I get all jumbled and trip over my words, but I just kind of wanted to give you a first-hand real thing. I'm not trying to glamorize my lifestyle at all or say that my lifestyle is better than anyone else's. I have a lot of respect for people in my family that live a traditional way of living. My brother and his wife, they are very happy living the way they live. They have a house and they enjoy the comfort of that house. And, I respect that. And I feel like they respect me because I don't bash their way of living. They don't bash my way of living. And I feel like overall that's the key to kind of life. We're all different, and if we can respect each other for our differences rather than try to tear each other down, the world would be a better place. So with that, guys, let's make 2023 a good one, and we'll see you soon. Take care.